And well, it is because I had a baby, like point blank. When I even spoke with, because like they wouldn't give me any answers on the phone either. I was like, well, why? Like what's happening? And they're like, this is just what we're going with right now. I'm like, I don't even think they said that. He was just like, I'll put you in touch with legal. And I'm like, legal? Like I just want to know like why this is happening. Like this doesn't feel right.
Like you're a human being, you want real answers from a real person, not this robotic legal. And I get it. Everything is a liability, but also to be treated like a human being and a woman and someone who's dedicated 12 years of your life to this company.
Soon we will talk more about Carmella. We got more of the interview of the Barely Famous podcast. We'll talk about Carmella and what happened with her departure and why Carmella felt like she was wrongfully terminated and why she felt like she deserved more from WWE in the whole 12 years of the company. Soon and more at Toxic Reign Scandal here. Hey guys, we're here at the locker room. It's Toxic Reign Scandal. We'll talk about why Carmella felt like WWE had wrongfully terminated her. Get the likes as we come into the locker room. We're going to talk more about this interview that she did on the Barely Famous podcast. Now, Carmella here, she's going to soon talk about why her whole thing of what led her to she wanted answers of why she was terminated by WWE, meaning why her contract was not renewed. Now, we talked a little bit about this in the last video, but I know people wanted to hear more about the whole interview. I have a little bit more about it. The whole interview is about an hour. Meanwhile, we'll talk about why she felt like she was wrongfully terminated, how she felt like she could have provided more value, why she not be able to wrestle, and why she felt like others that were not wrestling anymore still had a job with WWE, but she felt like WWE could not do the same with her. So she going to talk about all of that stuff on the podcast, and she just seems very, very, very shocked that WWE would do that to her due to her being a Money in the Bank winner, the inaugural winner, and being a former SmackDown Women's Champion, now known as the WWE Women's World Champion. So we're going to hear more about that soon. This is Carmella at the Barely Famous podcast here.
They sent me a letter and they said that like they gave me X amount of days off on my contract for being pregnant and then 7 weeks postpartum. So basically they anticipated how long it would take me to recover postpartum. And I'm assuming they give this number to all the women who get pregnant, right?
Okay.
But they said in this letter, like no matter what, when you return to wrestling, these dates will all change. So basically it's just kind of like a placeholder date and number and period of time that you have off. But when you return to wrestle, that's the date that we're actually going to take, and that contract would be frozen for that amount of time that you were out.
Okay.
So like say I was out for 300 days, and they're like, okay, we're going to freeze your contract for 300 days, or we're going to freeze your contract for whatever amount of time. But I was out for 300 days. They would, once I came back, they would add that 300 days back onto my contract, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
And so that was just the impression I was under, because that's how it's worked for other women in the past, and that's how it's worked if you're injured or anything. And again, every woman is so different. Like some girls have been out for 6 months postpartum, some girls have been out for 14 months postpartum, 5 months, 8 months. It's just, of course, everyone's recovery is different.
Sure.
So it's not like they can put an exact timeline on when you're gonna return. But I just was like completely shocked that they had only given me 7 weeks and then reinstated my contract.
But didn't tell you when they reinstated?
Didn't tell me, yeah.
So at the point that you hit the 7 week mark postpartum,
no one said, hey, we're gonna reinstate your contract.
So you didn't go back to work?
I didn't go back to work. I also was completely, I mean, you can barely ride a bike 7 weeks postpartum.
Oh no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Never mind, like even if I was completely healthy and didn't have the nerve damage in my foot, there's no way I was returning 7 weeks postpartum.
I mean, you get cleared to work out and do regular things at 6 weeks.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
And that's like light working out.
So at the point that they reinstated your contract, did they know that you had the diagnosis that you had
Yes.
with the nerve damage.
Yes.
Okay, so they still they reinstated it knowing that you had nerve damage. Okay.
And that's why I was also confused, because in the letter I was sent, it said like these dates and everything will change based off of your like medical condition. So like I have a medical condition, and like I'm assuming they put that in there for any pregnant woman because you just don't know what'll happen.
Right.
So I was completely shocked. Like I had no idea. And then I got a phone call a few weeks ago just saying like, hey, we just want to let you know your contract's up in 12 days and we're not renewing it. And I was like, first of all, my husband and I were walking into a Nikki Glaser comedy show. Like we're in line to get a beer and we're like so excited to go watch the stand-up. Like the last thing on my mind is thinking about getting a call about my job, and I was completely blindsided. And I was just like, wait a minute, what? Like, I thought my contract was frozen because I'm injured. I had no idea, because usually when you're injured, your contract's frozen.
Right.
And it hurt. It really hurt. I was really upset and disappointed because I just felt like they knew about my injury. And I also was doing everything in my power to heal and get better. That same day that I got a phone call, I was at my spine specialist and my neurologist, getting different tests and results and chatting about options and doing everything I can my foot is getting better. It's just not 100% yet. So I just was like, why am I going through all of this trouble to try to get better and try to get back to the ring if that wasn't the ultimate goal at the end? And the kicker is I actually offered to go back to work last summer. And I was like, I can't wrestle, but I'd love to contribute any way I can. Here's my pitch. I had an idea of like working with this tag team and being a manager. Carmela is like a huge personality, and like I love like talking on the microphone. So like let me help another team out in the meantime, even though I can't wrestle, but let me just contribute. And like he loved the idea. He put me in touch with the head of creative and like, let's get it going. And I can't wait to see you is what he told me, literally point blank. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was in touch with creative. They got medical clearance from my doctor, like my personal doctor, saying, yes, she can travel, she just can't wrestle. Cool. And then like radio silence. I haven't heard from anyone. That was like the end of July. I was in the middle of collaborating with them on this, and then I haven't heard anything from anyone.
So everyone just ghosted?
Ghosted, completely ghosted. And it hurts because I feel like I have always been a company girl. I've always like done whatever it is they wanted me to do. I feel like I always represent the company in a professional way and do what's asked of me. I never like gone off script or done anything where I was like, ooh, shoot, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like I always do. Well, it is because I had a baby, like point blank. When I even spoke with, cause like they wouldn't give me any answers on the phone either. I was like, well, why? Like what's happening? And they're like, this is just what we're going with right now. I'm like, I don't even think they said that. He was just like, I'll put you in touch with legal. And I'm like, legal? Like I just want to know like why this is happening. Like this doesn't feel right.
Like you're a human being, you want real answers from a real person, not this robotic legal. And I get it. Everything is a liability, but also to be treated like a human being and a woman and someone who's dedicated 12 years of your life to this company.
It's so hurtful, and the fact that I went above and beyond and tried to go back. It's not like I was like, oh, I'm fine with, let me just sit at home and collect my paycheck and screw you guys. Like, I tried to go back. And for example, my husband, when years ago, he had gotten several concussions, he had to retire. They let him figure out another path. They let him try commentary, and he completely excelled at that. He's incredible. He's like one of, if not the best commentator WWE has. He's incredible. There's another guy a couple years ago, Big E, he's a friend of mine. He broke his neck, unfortunately, in the ring. But he was given the opportunity to have another avenue to succeed. Yeah. Why wasn't I afforded that same opportunity? It's like, that's what I keep asking myself, because I feel like I have a lot to offer. I have a fan base. I represent the company well. Why wasn't I given an opportunity somewhere else when I've showed interest and shown that I wanted to contribute in any way that I could? And they didn't give me that opportunity, and is it because I'm a woman? And I don't want to keep saying these things, but I just feel like it is 2025, but we still have a long way to go with equality. I mean, the women there are extremely underpaid compared to the men, and that's just a fact. Everyone there knows it. The women working there know it, and they maybe can't say it because they're working, so let me say it. I'm going to say it and speak up for them because it's important. And there's some work to do, I feel like.
All right, that was Carmela on Barely Famous podcast. She talks about her nerve injury in her foot. Now, while she says she was not 100%, she says she was willing to work. She said last summer she was offered to work for WWE. Even though she could not wrestle, she still could do other things, such as being a manager for a tag team or cut promos, whatever they could do. Now, she said they had talked to her about setting something up. However, they did not get back to her, and that's where she felt ghosted, as she stated in other interviews, like she said with the clips. Now, the whole thing about that is there a possibility that WWE may have ghosted her on that? Yes, because the reason I say that, because Carmella, Triple H Creative, and the rest of WWE, they don't want to have you working around like that while you should be at home. They consider you a liability and maybe be a risk factor. So they're looking out for your safety and the company's safety in case there's a lawsuit. As far as Big E goes, yes, Big E did had his neck broke a few years ago, back in 2022. And yes, he is able to find other work at WWE as being on the pre-panel shows like we see him today. He's not wrestling anymore. Well, at least he's not considered retired, but he has not wrestled since 2022. But he is on pre-show panels like WrestleMania, Money in the Bank, and many other PLEs for WWE. That is true. Big E, unfortunately, he had an injury that set him back. But that is a whole different situation compared to yours, Carmella. You had a pregnancy that you chose to have a child. Big E injury was unexpected. Now we could talk about your husband, Corey Graves, who was one of the announcers on a 3-man team for NXT that come on Tuesday nights on CW. Now, Corey Graves, yes, also situation to Big E. He was a wrestler, and of course, he was forced to retire. However, a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years, yes, Corey Graves was cleared, but he has not since wrestled. Now, Corey Graves is known for being on SmackDown and Raw. However, with things changing with the circumstances, he got demoted back down to NXT, as we know he's on now. And we know there was a big story about that, how he was not too pleased about being sent down to NXT. He walked out. He did not come to work that 1 week. And it was a big issue there. And people was even questioning, would he still have a spot in the company and his job and everything else. Now, Carmella, also she spoke about comparing men and women and how women should be treated in the workplace and pay and all that stuff. Carmella, you come off as a pure feminist. I'm going to go ahead and say it. You keep comparing yourself to men. You compare yourself to Big E. You compare yourself to your husband, Corey Graves. Carmella, you give me vibes that you're trying to compare yourself to men. Men and women are not the same. Let's keep it honest here. They're not the same. They're two different genders. It's the whole, as they say in the workplace, men and women are paid different by a 77-cent wage gap. And that's the whole thing Carmella's talking about. Now, Corey Graves and Big E, like I stated before, whole different situations. They were injured, unfortunately. No one expected that to happen. Yes, they were able to still find work, but you were pregnant, something you chose to do. And Corey Graves, honestly, with the stunt he pulled with the whole NXT Not Want to Be There, he's lucky WWE even still wants to keep him there. Now, he is currently on contract. I heard Corey Graves signed a contract back in 2024. But after this interview and after what Corey Graves, the stunt he pulled a month or two ago, I'd be very, very surprised if WWE decides to renew his contract once his contract expires. They may do the same thing with him, Carmella, like they did with you. Hello, how you doing? We know your contract's going to expire soon. In another 10 days, like they told Carmella, we're not going to renew it. They may do the same thing because, Carmella, you have a bad name, and it's because of your man Corey Graves. So if they did not want to renew you, that could be part of the reason. As I stated in the other video, there's really no work for Carmella. There is a plethora of women on the WWE, on the main roster of Raw and SmackDown, and definitely a lot on the NXT brand as well. So another thing what Carmella said, that every woman pregnancy is different, the recovery is different. Carmella, according to the information that I'm about to display, out of all the women with Becky Lynch and also Alexa Bliss, you had the worst experience, you had a very rough pregnancy. And let's see what the information says here. It says here, according to this information, that advanced maternal age is a medical term for women over 35 or 35 or over during pregnancy, and they have complications when giving birth at 35. Now let's look at information about Carmella. When Carmella had a child, she was exactly 35 years old when she announced she was pregnant, and she had her son back in November 2023. Now Carmella right now is 37. So about a year and a half ago, you was over the age of 35 when you gave birth. So you had a very rough pregnancy. Also, besides that fact, before you did have your child, you had 2 miscarriages. And you said here in this article on People that you was very grateful to be pregnant after multiple miscarriages. And the reason for that is also, for that being why you had a miscarriage of rough pregnancy, she also had 2 miscarriages in an ectopic pregnancy. If I said it right, excuse me, I'm not a doctor. Ectopic pregnancy is what she had. Now let's explain what kind of pregnancy this is. It said it's not healthy, and if it continues to grow, it can endanger the life of the pregnant woman. Early detection shows treatment of that. So, well, I'm saying that because, Carmella, you went through all this stuff during your pregnancy, and maybe WWE saw you as a risk factor, you know? And you are in the combat sport of wrestling. But other than that, that's all I have why Carmella felt like WWE wrongfully terminated her. And also, I read that information. I'm not saying it's discriminate. That's why they fired her. I'm not saying no discrimination or anything like that. I'm saying she had a rough pregnancy, and maybe they saw it as a risk, and they're looking out for her safety for anybody coming here talking that garbage. But other than that, though, guys, you guys let me know, what do you think of the whole Carmella thing? Is she delusional or what? I would say beyond delusional. Check out the content here at Toxic Rain Scandal, aka KDH. Until then, guys, you already know what it is. It's OUT.